So I was in a coaching call just about a week ago, and I was talking to one of my students, and he was having trouble with his business because the cost of everything has gone up. So material, fuel, labor, the cost to pay the guys are wanting more money, understandably so, because the cost of living has increased so dramatically. And so he asked me, he was like, hey, what can I do to kind of offset this? Because now my margins are lower and lower and lower and less. So margins are simply it's basically the percentage, right? It's your margin is the percentage, but what it equates to is your net profit. So not your gross, but your net. So how much did the company bring in? How much went out due to expenses? That's what's left. That's your net gain. And if you turn it into percentages, that's your margins, right? And so he was having trouble because his company was, the expense column had increased a lot, and so his issue was he was having to pay for all of this. And the problem was he was charging the same amount of money to the customers. And so he asked me, he was like, "Hey, what can I do to kind of offset this?" And I was like, "Unless you're gonna pay your guys less, unless you're gonna cut a lot of expenses." And I was like, so can you pay you guys less? And he was like, no, understandably so, because it's hard to give someone a pay cut, very hard. And I said, well, can you cut expenses? And basically his expenses were kind of set because they weren't like ridiculous, right? So he'd spend a little money on ads, he'd spend a little money on promotions, business cards, stuff like that, but it wasn't anything crazy. But the main problem was again that the expenses to run his business had gone up and he was having to foot the bill. And I don't believe that's ever a good idea for a business. And so in the coaching call, we kind of broke it down and I said, hey, here's what we're going to do. You ready? You say yes. I said, you sure you're ready? Because this is probably going to catch you off guard. And he was like, I'm ready. Go ahead and tell me. I said, you're going to have to charge more. And he was like, I can see the pain in his eyes. And he was like, well, the customers, they already don't want to pay. The customers are already complaining about price, already complaining about what the moves cost, already calling around looking for better quotes. And I said, what does that have to do with you? You're going to have to charge more. Doesn't matter what the customer's looking for, right? You're going to have to charge more or you're going to struggle as a business because the cost is only going to go up, especially probably the few. So you're going to have to start charging your customers more. And he was like, I was like, let's go through your costs. Let's do a quick cost analysis. And so we broke down, what he was spending money on, how much he was charging the customers, and what all fees that he had in it. So this is a new student. He didn't know how much I hate fees. And fees should never be a part of your language or lingo as a business owner. And you should never, ever mention the word fee to a customer. And so I was like, here's what we're going to do. We're going to get you more customers, but we're going to get rid of fees and we're still going to make you not the same amount of money. We're going to make more money. And so we spent probably 10 minutes just breaking this down. Here's what I want you to do from now on. And believe it or not, it starts with the script. I know you're probably thinking, how does the script help me to make more money? Well, your script should be able to capture customer information, create scarcity, right? Create pain, create shock, sell value, and then book the move. Your script should be able to do that. If it does not do that, then you probably don't have a great script. And so we discussed that. We went over a few options. And I said, here's what you're going to do. You're going to take all of this money, put it into one. And he was like, how am I going to take my booking fee, my labor fee, as well as my fuel fee? And I think he had a truck fee or a fuel fee. And he said, how do I take all that and put it into one? I'll show you. And so we broke it down. We put it all together because people like bundles. In fact, he said, you sure this is going to work? I said, I'm positive it's going to work, because here's what we're going to do. We're going to tell them about the extra charges that could be offered, and then we're going to take them all back and save the day. So we're going to hit them with a bunch of pain. Sweetheart, sir, here's what you get if you deal with a bunch of other companies. There's this fee, that fee, that fee. Listen, we could do that, but we're going to take that back. And so we're going to go free from fee. And so that's what we did. I'm not giving you everything because this video would be too long, but we essentially was able to make more money, right? And book more customers just by changing our script and our pricing model. And that was it. And so now he's able to get more money up front. And by the way, one of the big things that helped him, he wasn't taking deposits. We never book a job unless we take a deposit. Unless you take a deposit, the customer is not yours. Anyway, if you need coaching or if you want to get the masterclass, you can get it. It is not very expensive. Just put the word CEO in the comments below if you want the masterclass. If you want to get coaching, just put the number 1 for one-on-one mentorship. And if I have time, we could do it. Yes, it's going to cost. I may be able to help you out on that end, but it's definitely not free. Okay? So, but if that's something you want, let me know in the comments. Otherwise, see you guys on the next video. Peace.